The 5 books that helped shape my career. These are the books that I swear by when it comes to finance, investing, and trading. Each of these books has had a lasting impact on me and my understanding of investing and trading and how financial markets operate. I'm going to share what I believe to be essential reads for anyone serious about finance, and that if you commit to and finish even one of them, your skill set will undoubtedly grow. I'll save the best one for last, and I'll tell you which one is my favorite and why. So grab a bowl of popcorn, make yourself a nice Manhattan. Let's pop right into the Center for Kids Who Can't Read Good.
The Derek Zoolander Center for Kids Who Can't Read Good.
So the first one up, Japanese Candlestick Charting Techniques, a contemporary guide to the ancient investment techniques of the Far East. It's the second edition by Steve Nison. So basically, this one goes first because it's the one that I've read over and over and over again in my 20-year career. This book has been on every trading desk I've ever been on. See this picture here? This picture shows my desk getting saran wrapped while I was on vacation. But check out the book to the right. Unfortunately, it was also saran wrapped, but it just goes to show you that this book has been with me through thick and thin. So throughout my entire financial career. This book is often regarded as a definitive guide to candlestick charting, which is the ancient Japanese technique used to predict price movements in the market. Nison is credited with introducing this method to the West because there was no books on candlestick charting until Steve Nison was like, I need to know more about this. Let me get all these documents translated from Japanese. And he made his own book. And it's been a technical analysis technician's Bible, basically. Candles coupled with the 50, 100, 200-day moving averages, add to that a volume chart underneath, pretty much tells me everything I need to know about the supply and demand of a particular stock or commodity or index, doesn't matter. I chatted with him once asking about confirmation on different candlestick patterns. He answered my question, and honestly, he couldn't have been nicer. But yes, super nice guy, super helpful, and he sells this book online. And it's great. Some of the things that the book goes into detail about basically talks about specific candlestick patterns and what they can tell you about the market psychology. Patterns like dojis, hammers, inverted hammers, bullish, bearish, engulfing, 3 white knights, 3 black crows, morning star, evening star, shooting stars, gets into pretty much everything. I find this book unbelievably useful for me. Nison teaches you all the patterns you need to know and about how to integrate those candlestick charts with other technical analysis tools like trend lines, support and resistance, moving averages for more accurate predictions. And at the back of the book, he incorporates different oscillators into that, like MACD, which is moving average convergence divergence, RSI, which stands for relative strength index, and stochastics. What sets this book apart is that it really provides the origins of candlestick charting in Japan back in the 18th century when they were using it to predict the rice future market, and how the psychology behind these patterns has been over and over, and traders have really been rewinding and replaying the same charting techniques for centuries. All right, so next up is Reminiscences of a Stock Operator by Edwin Lefèvre. Yeah, so this book basically was handed to me when I just got into the business, and I was told to read it front and back. And this particular book is new because I couldn't find my other copy, which I think is in storage back in Tokyo. It's not a hard read at all. I think that the book just stood the test of time because the same things keep replaying in the market. And it's all about the psychology of how people react when they're out of the money and they're trying to make money back. And just that fear, it's really greed and fear. It comes down to those 2 core emotions that really drive a lot of investors. And it's really difficult to just sit there and be patient. And this book covers a lot of that. The book, though it's fictional, is often considered one of the best books on trading psychology out there. It's based on the life of Jesse Livermore, who arguably is one of the greatest stock traders of the early 20th century. The book delves deep into the mindset of a speculator and the psychological battles involved in trading. If you ever heard the quote, bulls and bears make money, but pigs get slaughtered, well, this book is where that quote comes from. That quote is the sole reason I bought this Burton Morris print, heard on the street in the early 2000s. I didn't appreciate in value at all, but it's still one of my favorite pieces because it reminds me of where my trading career and finance career all began. I literally bought it a week after I finished this book. The book is a must-read for understanding the emotional side of trading. It dives deep in how greed, fear, and emotional bias affect decision-making in the stock market. Livermore's famous quote, "It was never my thinking that made the big money for me, it was my sitting," just emphasizes the importance of patience and risk management. I mean, the guy went down to zero more times than Donald Trump, but like the Donald, he always came back swinging.
Never give up, and good luck will find you.
Whether it was taking loans or whether it was trying to sell off his wife's jewelry. The book discusses how market cycles repeat over time, driven by human psychology, and how understanding these cycles can give you such a significant edge. As I was putting all this together, I saw on LinkedIn someone highlighting this book and saying how instrumental it was in their career. So I'm not alone. Everyone basically reads this when they get into investment banking or they get into trading or investing. Yeah, anyway, really good book. So next up is Liar's Poker by Michael Lewis. You know, Michael Lewis is probably by far my favorite writer on all things finance, from his books Panic, Going Infinite, Flash Boys, Big Short, to mention a few. But my favorite non-finance book he wrote is by far Moneyball, which was also a great movie too. Liar's Poker is kind of like a behind-the-scenes look at the culture of Wall Street in the 1980s, specifically at Salomon Brothers, which was one of the most powerful investment banks of the time. Through his personal experiences and interviews, I mean, Michael worked on the floor. He gives his own vivid account of the excess, greed, and recklessness that characterized the financial world of the 80s. But what is Liar's Poker? So Liar's Poker is a game where you take the 8-digit serial number on a US dollar bill between the letters and wager how many of a particular number are in that group that is playing based on all the serial numbers. It's kind of like the game Bullshit. You look, oh, I've got 4 kings, there's 8 kings left, you know, whatever it may be. But it's fun. I've never played the game on a trading floor, probably because I got paid in yen, but I have played it, not for much money. But this book paints a fascinating picture of the cutthroat high-risk culture at Solly's back in the day, where young traders made huge amounts of money, but also took huge risks. It was also the rise of the mortgage-backed securities. So in this book, Lewis explains the rise of MBS and how they became a driving force in the financial market, setting the stage for what came to be the 2008 financial crisis. The book also digs deep into the personalities and the egos of the people involved, like John Merriweather, who ran fixed income back there, showing how their ambition and risk trading behavior created one of the largest financial bubbles in the history of finance. Yeah, so I guess my personal view is I was also handed this book when I got into the business, told to read it. It's an easy read. You can do it in a weekend. It's considered a classic now. It's a great book. I really enjoyed it, and I recommend it to every newbie on the street that comes in. And yeah, I think it's well worth your time. Next up, The Intelligent Investor by Benjamin Graham. You see the quote at the bottom here. "By far the best book on investing ever written," said Uncle Warren E. Buffett. This book, it's widely regarded as the Bible of value investing. The Intelligent Investor by Benjamin Graham has had a profound influence on investors worldwide, again, especially like Warren Buffett. Originally, this book was published in 1949, and the book emphasizes a disciplined long-term approach to investing based on analyzing the intrinsic value of companies. This is one book I'm recommending that you will inherently learn the most out of. I can almost guarantee that. It's a bit dry and dull at times, but it's worth it to get through it. I found that Graham's philosophy centers on purchasing stocks that are undervalued by the market, and his concept of margin safety encourages investors to always leave room for error by investing in companies at a discount to their intrinsic value. So undervalued compared to their fair value. One of the most famous concepts from the book is the idea of Mr. Market, which is like a fictional character that represents the irrational behavior of the stock market. Graham advises investors to ignore Mr. Market's mood swings and focus on solid fundamental analysis. Graham also stresses the importance of protecting yourself from significant losses. This approach encourages investors to think more about preserving capital than maximizing return. Whenever someone's like, can you talk about long-term growth investing? Can you talk to me about how to make money over the next 10 years? This is the book that I point people in the direction of. If you take the time to go through it, it'll teach you everything you really need to know. Me telling you, you know what, you should be looking at putting your money in a mutual fund, it should be a 60-40 stock to bond split. I mean, that's irrelevant. What you need to do is you need to look at the book and make up your own mind. And if you don't want to put the time in, then don't worry about it. Nothing's easy, nothing's free. You really have to do all your own due diligence in everything. So this book gives you the roadmap on how to do it. That's all I'm saying. It's a great book. Next up, One Up on Wall Street by Peter Lynch, which is just so happens to be my all-time favorite book on finance and Wall Street. So Peter Lynch is one of the most successful fund managers of all time. He ran Fidelity's Magellan Fund from 1977 to 1990, where he averaged a 29.2% annual return, consistently more than doubling the S&P index, making it the best performing mutual fund in the world. And during the 13 years he ran the fund, the AUM grew from $18 million, right, to $14 billion. In my mind, there's no bigger stud than Peter Lynch. This guy's incredible. You've had some great Magellan fund managers since, like Jeff Vinnick was amazing. He was great. He's the guy that owns the Tampa Bay Lightning. But this book taught me how to pick stocks. I can't say enough about it. I got handed this book along with A Random Walk Down Wall Street by Burton Markeel to read in my Finance 101 class. And though I liked Random Walk Down Wall Street, it didn't make as profound an impact on me as this book did. Because in Peter Lynch's book, he shares his approach to stock picking and investing. And Lynch's strategy is basically centered around finding hidden gems in the market and companies with strong growth potential that the market has overlooked. That if I liked a product, turn it around and see who makes it. And then see if they're listed. And then do some work on the company to see if what I like so much about that particular product has been priced into the stock or not. Lynch's key piece of advice is to invest in businesses and industries that you're familiar with. He believes that individual investors often have an edge because they're in a better position to spot promising companies in their everyday lives. During a lifetime of buying cameras, you become an expert at it, right? So the Sony mirrorless, CMOS sensors, the Nikon, you get the Canon, then you look at some of the, do you go all the way high end with a Leica? Basically, that's the point. You know where the value is. You know which cameras are good. You know when a new camera comes to market, and you test it out and you try it out and you're like, oh, this is really good. All right, and if it just came to market, chances are that it's not entirely priced in yet. I mean, markets have gotten a lot more efficient than they were in the 80s and 90s. So you could say that, yeah, it probably is priced in, but maybe like when Nintendo came out with the Switch, everyone's like, oh, is this good? Is this going to be really good? Yeah, the Switch was amazing. So, I mean, you, as a person consuming these products, you need to understand how much power you have from an expert standpoint. If you really like it, chances are there's others out there that really like it too, okay? And if it's really, really cool, maybe everyone should be using it. Basically what they're saying is this puts you in a unique position where you now know as much as the experts, and you can make investment decisions based on what you know. My favorite product he mentions in the book is Legs nylons. They're made by Hanes, which were in plastic little eggs back in the 1980s, which he invested in because his wife bought that pantyhose. He turned that investment into a six-bagger, or made 600%. Essentially, I remember when my mom would have like the Legs nylons.
They come in these big eggs that are not biodegradable. Cool, right?
And she would take them out and then she'd throw the egg away. I'd go in the trash, get the egg, and then I would use that in my toys. So that's why it had such, when I read that in the book, I was like, oh my God, if I could have just told my mom how cool these goddamn eggs are, we'd made a fortune. But anyway, I digress. Back to the book. Lynch popularized the concept of finding stocks that could grow tenfold, and he called them 10-baggers, right? Which means the stock essentially has 1,000% return. So going from a $5 stock to a $50 stock, that's a 10-bagger. He explains how to identify these opportunities by looking for companies with strong fundamentals that are still undervalued by the market. Lynch breaks down stocks into categories such as fast growers, stalwarts, and turnarounds, offering tailored strategies for each type of stock. Again, I cannot recommend this book enough. I love this book. So there you have it. 5 of the best books about finance from my perspective. From Steve Nison's breakdown of candlestick charting patterns to Peter Lynch's practical approach to stock picking. Each of these books offers invaluable insights into the world of investing and trading. And as for my personal favorite, One Up on Wall Street by Peter Lynch, I love it because it empowers individual investors. It's not about having insider information or complex financial models. It's about using your own experiences and knowledges to spot great investment opportunities. Everyone as a consumer, like I said before, has the power to do this. This book is practical, it's relatable, and it stood the test of time as one of the most accessible yet effective investment guides out there. Now, if you haven't read any of these books, I highly recommend picking one up and just getting right into it. Whether you're a beginner or a seasoned investor, there's something to learn from each of these authors. So thanks for watching, and don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button to stay in the loop for more content to come. And remember, kindness is the rent we pay on earth, so do something nice for someone.